Can you talk a little bit about some of the most common types of stress that plants face? And what are some ways that farmers can effectively monitor for them throughout the growing season?
Sure. Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, so common types of stresses that plants encounter come both from abiotic and biotic sources. So it can be anything from weather like a heat spell or a cold to biotic things like pests and pathogens. And we've had so much heat this summer and drought, and those are major stressors that can limit crop yield and quality. So how do we monitor for those? I think during the summer and winter, it's really important to check the weather, and as we in the agricultural industry do, so many people know what to expect for the coming days and weeks. But when you see that heat wave coming, that's a good time to adapt your fertilizer program or your irrigation scheduling to get some of these biostimulants and extra water in a few days before a heat spell to turn on some of the plant's own mechanisms to defend itself against that stress and protect itself and conserve water.
You talk about that the heat here, farmers have dealt with so much heat, and every year it feels like it's getting a little bit hotter. Can you maybe talk about some of the environmental factors like climate change and how soil health also influences plant stress, and what strategies can growers adopt to deal with it?
Sure. So, one of the things that we can expect with climate change is more extremes in weather. So, we can expect to have longer periods of drought, punctuated by periods of intense storms and flooding. And that big variation means that plants are going to need all the tools they can get to cope with those more extreme conditions and keep surviving through the drought and heat, and then continue growing even if the soil is saturated for weeks during the winter time. And what was the rest of the question there?
Just what are some strategies that growers can take to adapt to some of these climate and soil health issues?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no magic bullet. It's really about becoming better and better at irrigation and fertilizer management, and of course, crop protection. So I think that doing the spoon feeding and practicing the 4 R's with nutrient management is very important. And consider your nutrients the first defense against both biotic and abiotic stressors, because a healthier plant is better at defending itself. And especially with the micronutrients, those are very important for building strong cell walls, producing antimicrobial compounds, lots of plant metabolites that are important in the plant's own defenses. Soil quality is also very important. We all know that organic matter helps the soil hold more water. It adds water holding potential and cation exchange capacity, and it helps buffer the soil. So as our soils become saltier with saltier irrigation water and the drought, like I said, that organic matter can help alleviate some of those adverse conditions.
So, like I said, I'm not going to try to attempt any pronunciation of some of the scientific names that you talked about earlier. There were quite a few of them. But can you just talk about some of the emerging research areas that show promise to enhance crop tolerance and just some of the stress factors you've talked about?
Sure. Yeah, it's a very interesting time in agriculture because we've had so many advances in genetics and epigenetics study. And so we know lots of specific genes that are involved in plant defense against both biotic and abiotic stressors. And our molecular sciences have improved so much over the past 10, 20 years, and we've identified many plant metabolites that are compounds that are important for all kinds of different functions within the plant, ranging from promoting growth phytohormones to the antibacterial, antifungal compounds that plants excrete, and that the microbiome does as well. And so now that we have identified some of these compounds that are very important in stress management, now they're developed into biostimulant products. And that research is ongoing, and the genomic and epigenetic research continues. So we will understand more and more how plants upregulate and downregulate genes to cope better with these changing environmental conditions, and how we can tap into those natural processes to leverage them to our advantage.